Hey, thanks for tuning into the Overwatch channel where we talk all thing commercial property. My name is Nick Lavelle. Today we've got a very special guest, Allen Mick. Allen, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking around at this setup that you have here. You're putting every podcast I've ever been on to shame. So I'm really excited to be on this Overwatch show.
Well, let's hope that the content is good. I really don't want to have a target on my back for anything more than this. So Allen Mick is works with National Claims Advisors, works in the C-suite over there, and I want to talk a little bit today for our commercial property owners, some of roofing contractors, all this state, just the state of the insurance company. What's going on with the world? What are you seeing? What are some of the changes that are going on after Hurricane Ian? But before, let's hear about how you got into the business, man. I mean, what brought you into the C-suite of one of the greatest lawyer firms in the country?
Oh man, can we get a time check here?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to tell my story?
Yeah,
and I'm a story guy like yourself, so I could just go on and on. So I'll try to keep it 10,000 foot view.
There we go, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, I was born into the storm insurance restoration industry. So, growing up, being a child, going through grade school, we would chase storms. My dad would travel all over the place. My mom and my brothers, we would follow him. So we'd go. It's almost like the what's it called? The Army brat lifestyle, right? Okay. So I'm going place to place, storm chasing, and I'm helping set up the offices with him at 9, 10 years old. And I love it. This was entertaining. This is oh wow, this is how business is done. And then as a teenager, I really grew to appreciate it. I loved it. Most kids in high school would, I partied a lot in high school, but most kids would just every summer, that's all they would do. Go to lake, go party. I would go on the road, storm chasing, knocking doors, selling roofs, and I'd be partying with 30, 40-year-olds. So I still did the partying, but I did storm chasing, right? So I enjoyed that all growing up. And then I got serious about it. I took a couple years where I went to college because I kind of had that rebellious, hey, I want to go to college and do something different, even though I was born and bred for roofing.
Right.
So I did that for a couple years, but then I was like, man, I love this industry. I love everything about it. I love the freedom it gives me. I love the opportunity to meet people. I love helping people. I love being outside. I don't want to be in a cubicle.
Heard that.
So it checked all those boxes, So I decided that, look, I'm just going to go roof. And so I started taking it seriously about after my first or second year. Started out as a salesperson. I'd been selling for a long time, but I started out as a salesperson. I was top salesman in every office I sold for, and then moved my way up pretty quickly. So I was lucky enough, I was blessed to be around a bunch of really smart people in business and within the industry. And I was with some very large companies that had some mentors and some leaders that trained me. Moved my way, sales manager, general manager, eventually owned my own company, exited that roofing business in 2020. And from there, I wanted to stay within the industry. And the reason why I exited was more family, right? Met my wife, got married, had a child.
Life happens.
Tired of that storm chasing life. We talked about it just before. I'm a gypsy, We are. We're traveling all over the place. And I'm almost done, I promise.
No, you're good.
I'm trying to go quicker.
I'm entranced.
Yeah. So, traveling all over. So I started, I'm like, I love this industry, right? What value do I have with the industry? So, but I love solving problems. That was always my position in either my roofing company or different roofing offices, were solving problems. I had a unique ability to solve problems. So it was okay, I looked at myself as a roofer. What problems do I have? Also, the roofing industry and the storm chasing industry especially is notorious for crooked people, screw people up.
Yes.
Right? So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to start a new business, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to start something that doesn't exist, then I need to have good partners. So I went, okay, who do I know that I want to partner with? So I looked for people, genuine people, good people, and started brainstorming ideas that would solve problems for roofing. So we came out with a tech SaaS that does home service videos for the roofing, solar, any home service industry. That thing's still going great. Love it. Right?
Nice.
Very. It was tough doing a startup from scratch in a business that didn't exist, but I was blessed to be successful in that. I also did consulting, right? With any startup, money was tight, but so I had to do consulting. So I was doing consulting with roofing companies and public adjusting companies. We didn't use a lot of public adjusting companies because this is back in the day before you really needed them, or not just public adjusting professionals, right? Anybody that comes and helps that claim for that property owner or commercial property owner. We didn't use a bunch of them, but business is business and business principles are universal. So I knew how to scale a roofing company. I can help scale a PA company. So I went into a few PA firms and helped them scale. And I really learned that side of the business from that professional organization while I was doing this consulting. And you know what I found out? That it's a nightmare industry to scale.
Yes.
Right? The PA model it's a really hard model to scale. So I had that experience in the consulting, and it was, I don't even know what year it was, 2021, 2022. I got approached by national claims advisors, and I thought I was going to come in and consult a law firm now. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right? A law firm.
Change it up a little bit.
Or a roofer, right? I am chucking a truck, right?
Yeah, climb a ladder, let's go.
You know, I mean, we were a little more professional than that. But at the end of the day, we're contractors, man.
Right.
Never saw myself, unless I was watching Suits, I never saw myself working for a law firm.
Right.
You know, I watch that, I get excited about that. But that's totally different. So anyway, I got approached and they flew me into Houston, Rick and John, and I sat down with them and they told me the business model. They told me what they had, what they tried. And we sat down. It was one of my favorite whiteboarding sessions ever.
Okay.
Which anything in business and entrepreneurship, my favorite thing to do is whiteboard.
Yes.
Right. Put me in a boardroom and let's solve problems. Let's figure out this business model. We figured out the business model. And one of the things that we decided was we're going to take the best people in the industry and put them under one roof. And we've done that. Here we are, skip ahead 2 years later. We are the largest commercial pre-litigation law firm in the nation. So it feels really good.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. I mean, you know, and it just goes to show, you know, I read a lot of books. Well, I don't read. I got ADHD, so my brain yells at me. I do the books on tape. And one of the big things in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, is that where they talk about it's not really what, but it's who. Yeah. Right? It's, you know, getting the right people in the right room, or he says, getting the right people on the bus, and then making sure that the right people are in the right seats. And then you start driving.
Too, yeah.
And that's where a lot of people start making the mistakes. And, you know, it's interesting. Your background, growing up in a family-owned business doing roofing, is very similar to my own. But I started off in tires.
Yeah, tires.
Yeah, tires.
That's kind of an industry. Yeah,
yeah.
I would guess cars.
Yeah, well, it was started with tires, then it went to cars. You know, and you know, it's family-owned business. You know, my dad and my uncle started it up, and you know, really started working my way. I remember I was 14, 15 years old. On my summers, going in, unloading trailers, loading trailers, and then started working in the shop. Then worked with the shop. Then got into got into sales.
I was gonna say, how did they keep you out of sales?
Oh, they tried. They tried, man. They really did, you know, and it's just like finally spot opened up and I'm like, yeah, it's put me in, coach. You know, I'm ready. and so finally they did. And it was tough because I was never really a technology guy. Yeah. And so we go in, there was like this DOS-based platform, and MDMOV1 was logged, you know, so I had to get my sheet of paper and I'm trying to figure the stuff out.
I still type like this, so yeah. I get it.
Oh man, it's rough. So then they got into the commercial realm, and you know, it put me in charge of a location that wasn't doing super well. You know, about a year we turned it around, and they're like, cool, you're just going to start doing that. So it was like, I guess like an off-brand organizational development type deal. So I got into that, and then, you know, ended up exiting that business. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to go carve my own path. I'm going to get out of tires though. Yeah. So I went in and ended up starting doing door-to-door sales. And this is the first time, you know, I'm doing door-to-door sales for like, you know, Solar Energy and AT&T, and hey, you know, your bill's probably too high. And,
yeah, you look the guy.
Yeah, I was the guy
you don't want to answer the door for.
You know, it's 90 degrees. I'm wearing a suit, and it was like, it was crazy, right? You know, and then eventually, I got into residential roofing, you know, and I got into residential, started getting into commercial. I started working with Restore Masters, you know, company with currently. And, you know, it was wild because we started off, our CEO, Nick Iovino, is just like, I've never seen a guy that can recruit and build as fast. And you're well aware of this.
Yeah, he's a natural born leader. I want to follow the guy. Yeah, like, I don't care if I'm walking down the hallway or in business, I'm following him.
Well, like, it's good news. We're actually hiring. So he brings me on, and you know, I was in Chicago, and that's where I grew up, you know, and I've always wanted to get out of there. I couldn't because I was working the family business, and they ended up selling the business. So I'm like, cool, I'm out. And it was like, all right, well, I trained with them for 2 weeks. I sold 2 roofs on my first day at a barbecue, you know, because they were doing this big thing. Yeah, it was crazy. And then he goes, hey, we're moving to Dallas, Texas, and we're taking our top guys. You're coming with. So fast forward to now, I've helped them open up 6 locations across the country. Personally, override the one here in Denver, Colorado. I've got another one I override over in Orlando. I worked with the guys out in the Minneapolis market. It's because the mile set up, and then eventually they're like, "Hey, we want you to come to corporate." And they've been, I'm a free bird, man. I like to, I got to bounce around my chair, man. I got to run. And eventually it got to the point where, I got a little one on the way now. And
Congratulations.
they're like, so thank you. And first one, kind of freaking out, little girl.
Yeah.
And, I go, they go, well, now that you have a little one, wouldn't a salary be nice? Yep.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Work my way up, and now I'm the vice president of operations. And it's interesting because when I went into this, the roofing was foreign to me. Right. So I didn't know anything about roofs. Got educated, went to roofing school at the Colorado Roofing Association over here. Phenomenal place. If you haven't checked it out, highly recommend.
Awesome.
The teachers are absolutely great. Everybody that I met in there, all the local contractors, super guys. I mean, I can't say enough great things. They've got specialists for coatings. I mean, literally, it's unbelievable. So go in there and then, continue to do my training, get with GAF and Versco and all this stuff. And then when I actually got put into corporate, it was interesting because they go, oh, hey, now we need you to do like org development. I'm like, well, this is the one thing I know.
Yeah,
I know this.
So,
so from that point, it was doing like what you love to do, man. I love to solve problems.
Yeah.
Right. And over the years of working the roofing business, I've been in there for maybe 4.5, 5 years, give or take. So it's not been super long. I'm a young guy by my standards, the oldest I've ever been. Still feel young though.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because you start doing regular hail claims, and like you're saying, back in the day, you really need a specialist to go in. I went in. I remember it was in Des Moines, Iowa. I was working with a guy that owned a custom motorcycle shop. He did choppers and all the cool stuff.
Cool.
And he was super
That's
cool. I was so hard enough. I
how do you not? I remember growing up watching that Discovery Channel show with the I don't know what that was, but
the hot rods.
Yeah,
or
the hot rods.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing's awesome.
Yeah, but I go in and I signed the guy. It was like one of my second or third commercial deals, and I'm all excited.
Yeah.
And he goes, cool. He files the claim and all this stuff. He's like, cool, you'll be my contractor, signs the service agreement. And he calls me the next day. He goes, all right, the adjuster appointment's on Monday, so I'll see you then. I'm like 2 days Monday? He goes, yeah. I'm like, what do I do?
It's quick.
Yeah, super quick. So I got hold of corporate. I'm like, guys, I need an estimate. They're like, you mean an exactament? I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm working on it. So they build it out. I go in there. I give the guy the exact. He looks at the roof. He goes, I don't agree with covering these shrubs with the tarp, but that's good. Here's the check.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it was like 170 grand. Like that, it happened fast. But then as we continue to evolve throughout the industry, you start really running into stuff like things that have been previously damaged. Start getting into wind claims. You talk about improper installation. You start, and then, the insurance companies are starting to tighten up, which is where, the public adjuster field and the attorney field really started to explode. And now, just speaking from personal experience, not advising or anything, but like I'm noticing that, when we go in and we start working with a client, we're running into the situation where there's an exclusion on something. So, for example, in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, I was working the property out there. The thing got annihilated by 3.5-inch hail.
Yeah.
you had
Just
like
3.5 inches big. That's softball.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's I get out there and I get the policy and I'm like, cool, all right. I'm not going to read this. I don't know what I'm looking at. Do you have anybody that said, yeah, we use this firm? Cool. They take a look at it. They go, you have a roof exclusion.
Oh.
I go, I'm sorry. What? A roof exclusion? Meaning if for some reason, an elephant falls out of the sky, sorry, not sorry.
Doesn't matter.
No coverage.
Yep.
So, that when that starts happening, I'm noticing taking like a preventative approach and then furthermore, you get it down, you start looking at hurricanes.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, these Hurricane Ian was so bad. I think that State Farm, pulled out of Florida. I think Allstate was talking about it. So, when that type of firm, you're dealing with the policyholder directly. We're just on the contracting end. What are you seeing on your side that would be kind of like a red flag or like a warning sign? It's like, hey, like here's some steps you should take. What are you looking at?
Yeah. Dude, I love that. I mean, look, business itself is monetizing solutions.
Right.
At the end of the day. So it's not running around like a chicken with your head cut off, chasing storms, saying, hey, we're here after the storm.
Yeah.
You've got to go solve that problem before it ever happens. And that's where, that's why, again, I'm happy to be on the show, because we're actually talking to that client to tell them, like, look, man, these are things that you need to do to help set your business up so it doesn't happen.
Right.
Which is elephant falls out of the sky, damages roof, and you don't get it paid for it. That's the nightmare scenario.
Right.
Try to avoid that nightmare scenario. You can't do it after the storm. Man,
Absolutely.
That's what a hell of a story.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing that I keep looking at here is that I feel bad for because this may be like an antiquated analogy, right? But like the way I look at it is like, so when I get an update on my iPhone and it says, do you want to accept these changes? I say, yes. I don't read it. I don't look at it.
Yeah.
So in that situation, it's very similar to like your insurance policy renewal. And I know this because I have property, I have a vehicle, so I get my policy, and normally same thing. It's like, hey, did my premiums go up? Am I paying extra money? Is there anything I got to be worried? No, Nick, you're good. Cool. Click.
That's it.
Yeah, right? That's it. Right. But a lot of the times, if you're not really looking at it, there could be some slight modifications, some slight changes, some things that could negatively impact you in the future. And throughout the time of doing this, I'm just noticing it seems to be increasing more. So like being like the proactive stuff, one of the things that we've really started doing with our clients is reaching out ahead of time. So for example, in Hurricane Ian, I personal builds that I was involved in. There was 4 of them down there. They totaled about 10, 11 million, give or take, 4 properties, all multifamily. Some of them had asbestos in it. One of them had a fire claim from 6 years ago. So they're trying to say half of the roof, even though the roof was blown off, like no sans roof. All right. No roof. So they're like, well, we can't do this. We can't cover it. And so when we're doing this stuff, it took Hurricane Ian was like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2.5 years ago, give or take.
Yeah.
And one of our clients down there just got the settlement check. Like 2 months ago. So meanwhile, they've got this house. This one wasn't too bad. It wasn't all dilapidated. You could still, but it's uncomfortable. Yeah. You pay your insurance company. You expect it. You want to be brought back to pre-loss conditions, right? So what we're doing now is we're working with these clients saying, hey, look, we've got a new program that we put together. It's called the Overwatch Program. Hashtag, Overwatch podcast, right? It. Yeah. So the Overwatch is basically like if you go through and you look at like the military, right? And they get dropped into an air zone, and you've got all the different, the enemy, you got to close with and destroy the enemy. And you've got your Overwatch. It's the person that's overseeing, hey, watch your right. Hey, check out on the left. There's this over there, IED over here.
Being proactive.
Saving your life. Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I sat down with the corporate office and said, hey, look, guys, like we've really been talking about this. I think it's time we do something, So now what we're doing is, anytime that we do these roofing systems, we're immediately going out there and we're saying, hey, look, we're going to put you on our Overwatch program. We're going to make sure that you're covered, right? And the biggest things that you're really looking at is like, was there pre-existing damage? You're looking at the age of the roof, or you look at, was it installed properly? A lot of other things, does it have a good policy? And this is something that's going to reoccur every year. We're hoping you're not going to get hit again. Like, if you're in Florida or Baton Rouge, unfortunately, you probably are, sorry,
absolutely.
Poor Baton Rouge, man. Like those poor people down there.
Just all Louisiana, really.
Yeah, exactly. So, you look at that and say, okay, well, we could go through and make sure like, hey, you shouldn't have to worry about this. Right. So let's go through, make sure that you're under our watch and keep an eye on it. So that way, in the event something does happen, in the event down the line something goes sideways, you're not only covered, you've got all the documentation. We go out annually, we inspect the property, make sure everything's good, and furthermore, if there's any type of weather event, like I've got a lot of people in the Midwest that we put on this program, is that, if you get any type of hail damage, we'll show up 24 to 48 hours. We go in, we check it out. Hey, yes, no, is it, is there any type of damage? Cool. Well, then we should do something about that. Is there no damage? Cool. We take 150 to 300 photos, depending. I love photos. I took 5 to 6. They're like we have too many photos. There's no such thing, right? If it isn't documented, it didn't happen, right? So we take all the photos and we put it together and say, hey, okay, cool. Here's this for the client. So that way down the road, how many times are you dealing with a client or a carrier and they're like, this is all damage?
Oh man, yeah.
It doesn't happen once or twice.
Literally their excuse, right? It's always what it is. But fair enough. Look, what you're laying out, that is the solution to all the problems,
right?
Right? Not just hey, this is a solution we can do to have a program for portfolio managers. No, that's the carrier's issue too.
Right.
Like literally, again, you're solution driven, solution based. You start finding them, monetizing them. That's how you build business and business models. Well, when you go deep, no matter if you're a smart person like yourself that's been in this industry 5 or 6 years, or somebody like myself that learned the hard way, maybe been blessed to be around smart people like yourself,
Don't give me too much credit yet. Okay, calm down. We still got a little time here.
You start to find out that all of the problems, in my mind, it all goes back to that root. And you spelled it out, man. That was a lot. Right?
Sorry.
You spelled it out.
I do talk occasionally.
Yeah. Isn't that fast talk in Chicago?
Yeah.
Right? So,
it comes out, man. I'm juiced up. Let's go.
But you break it down. If you're a homeowner, a property owner, right? I would assume that when you're talking about claims changes, you're talking about your homeowner's claim, maybe car claim or something like that,
exactly.
right?
I got family members that got commercial properties too. So they're like, hey, we want to look at this.
Even more, though.
It's crazy.
Right. If I'm a commercial property owner, and then that's a business. I have people that look at that. I don't really look at that. My home, like that's where my wife lives. That's where my kids live. I'm paying a little bit more attention to my homeowner's policy than I am my commercial policy. Because it's my commercial property. Yeah, I care about it, but it's my business. I'm not going to read through it. So we find with our clients even more so that there might be changes in their policy that they're absolutely not aware of.
Yeah.
And so they don't know. Again, whose fault is that though? At the end of the day,
it's up for debate because I really don't want to think that anybody's doing anything nefarious. However, it is also my responsibility.
It is your duty, not your responsibility.
Yeah.
It is your duty.
Yeah.
You're signing a contract.
Right.
Every time you renew that policy, that is a contract between you and the insurance company.
Right.
So it's your duty to go through that contract and review it and make
Say
sure
duty
it's
one
legal.
more time.
Duty.
We're still little kids, man. I don't care how old we get. But you're absolutely right, man. I mean, if you're putting your name on the dotted line, it is your responsibility and duty to make sure that that's done. And that's something beautiful that I really like about what you guys are doing as well as with your MSA program.
Well, that's where it all starts. Like, okay, so if you have a duty, right,
Love it.
then what would you do normal in a business? So if you have a business and you have a contract that you're supposed to review before you sign it, who do you go to first? I'd go to my lawyer, personally. I'm not signing the last commercial insurance policy that we reviewed, 363 pages. I will never in my life sign a 363-page contract without having a lawyer review that.
Right.
That's where our business starts, right? We want to go in and we want to be proactive instead of reactive, just like your Overwatch program. And I just want to protect these people in a way to where we have attorneys. Let us be your general counsel for your property.
Right.
And again, that's the start of the problem, because at the end of the day, you can blame it on the insurance carriers and you can say, oh, you're being nefarious. You're hiding these things, these endorsements out to get them. But look, you had every right to review it. You had every opportunity to review it. If you found something you didn't like, negotiate, right? Just like anything else.
True.
So that's where it all starts. And then every problem compounds from there. The next thing, well, what did you bring up? Old damage, right? There's two things that they always like to say, the insurance companies. What we find are the biggest objections the insurance companies have to paying for damaged roofs from hail, wind, fire, flood, or damage anywhere on the property is the two biggest things that we find is one, it's either old damage, right? It's old damage from this, that, or the other, or the second is improper installation. So I look at that as a problem on the carrier side. If I'm the insurance carrier, I need to have good data and good underwriting to know what the property is. And if you're a property owner, you should want that as well.
Right.
Well, didn't you say the Overwatch program has that?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a crazy thing too. I mean, I was dealing with a guy. I'm not going to say exactly where it was in Florida, and he owns 4 malls. I mean, not like plazas. I'm talking like 5-6 million square feet malls.
Yeah.
And I signed 3 of them up. We're going back and forth on some stuff. And then he partners with another dude that has 56 malls.
Yeah.
Okay. So these guys, I mean, they're big dogs, right?
Oh, yeah.
So a couple things. One, I'm amazed at how loose they're on it. Like, I mean, it is.
They're cool guys. No, okay, back up for a second.
Yeah.
How cool are your clients? Like,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
come on, man.
Dude, they're cooler than a polar bear playing ice hockey, dog. These guys, they're super cool guys. I mean, not as cool as you, obviously. But, so but it's really loose. But the big thing is that I remember when I was talking to them, and we were working with. They had their own attorney, and it's somebody that size. Obviously, you would. Yeah. Right, so we're working with them, and they're like, yeah, so they're saying there's no really historical data that the carrier has of the property. Like, well, when they did their initial analysis, like, well, they have so many malls that they just don't even inspect them.
They just don't. They just write the policies.
I'm like, are you kidding? You're out of your mind? I'm like, that should like help for us, right? And they're like, no, because now there's no data.
There's no data.
Yeah, it's not even like you would think. It's like, cool, we got the upper hand, we've got the first. It's like, well, what happened in between then and then?
Yeah,
I mean, in reality, they don't know what they're insuring. So, I mean, realistically, if they sign on the dotted line, it's their duty.
I let the attorneys handle that conversation. Yeah. But at the end of the day, what I've seen from what our attorneys fight on it's always a winning battle on the policyholder side. Because if the carrier insured it, the carrier took over responsibility.
I guess the only thing that's really up for debate at that point is how long is it going to take?
Yeah.
Because when you've got that good data up front and all that stuff, and that actually brings me to another point I want to talk about. So when you're going through and you're doing this stuff, right? What are some of the things that you've seen property owners do? Like when you walk into a situation and your team is evaluating things, all the big dogs in the back end that are handling it, and they're looking at it. What are some of the things that they say? Is it like maintenance? Is it, a certain type of roof? Is it like, what are you seeing that is making it's like, hey, this is hands down, you guys are going to, because obviously the goal is to rectify the situation as soon as possible and get out of their hair so there's no construction, no battle, no leaks, see you later, bye. Like, what would you say like the top 3 things are for a commercial property owner to do just over the years? You could start it today, but like starting today, what were some things that you'd say they should be looking at or doing that would help them?
Well, so if I'm a property owner and I have a portfolio of properties, right, and we work with so many of them, it's funny, the mall thing, we've got a guy who flips malls, right? Okay. And so, we'll sign up, we help him with all of his malls. And he's one of the coolest clients we have. That's why I bring that up.
But, just out of curiosity, is he out of New York?
No, he's out of Oklahoma.
Okay, all right.
Oklahoma.
It was the same guy who would have freaked me out.
Yeah. Right? It wouldn't surprise me, right? These leaders are interconnected. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of advice in it. A lot of times it depends on the portfolio and claim status and stuff like that. So I'll try to keep it blanket and dry. The really thing you need to do is, again, treat your properties just like you treat your business. And a lot of times these properties are their business.
Right.
Like you said, what do? They every contract that you sign with that guy, he sent it to his lawyer to review. So treat your business the same way, treat your property the same way. So everything that you sign, start with your policy, have a lawyer review that. Right. Or at least a policy professional, if not a lawyer. Get that reviewed. Make sure you have good policies. Now, from there, cover your ass. Like you said, he didn't have documentation.
Right.
Like you should have documentation on the status and the current status of your property. Go hire a roofer. I'd rather hire a restore masters, but you can find anybody to pop up on your roof and document your roof. There's few good commercial guys that are going to know what they're talking about, especially like a mall, are going to be few and far between, but you can find them. Right. So find somebody to get onto your property and document the hell out of it. Because again, you want to know, maintain your property, keep proper maintenance records. There's one claim that we have that I was talking to the attorney about literally yesterday, and the insurance company is trying to almost punish the property owner for maintaining his property.
Interesting.
And it's opening up this carrier to a whole lot of can of worms.
Yeah.
Right? Well, they're going to get in a lot of trouble for it. But 9 times out of time, that's the only one I've seen that happen. 9 times out of 10, most of the time, that actual insurance carrier loves it. Right? And it makes for a quick claims process.
Right.
When everything is simple, it's like, okay, here's all the pictures. We get an annual property inspection to all of my properties. Here's all the photographs of the way that the roof was 1 year ago or 8 months ago or 6 months ago. And here's all the work that we did to repair the issues at that point in time.
Right.
And you obviously had an adjuster come out and inspect it. Compare those pictures to these ones. But if you don't, here's our expert that has these pictures. And there you go. It paints the picture. It's factual.
Right.
You can't argue with
with that, when you have that historical data. So again, if I'm a property owner, to keep it really simple, do your due diligence when it comes to signing these policies, and do your due diligence on your properties. You can typically find somebody, like I'm sure Restorash does not charge a lot of money to do those kind of inspections.
No.
If any.
Yeah, well, if you're on the Overwatch program, it's complimentary.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the way that we've got it structured out is like, because we're a nationwide company, we've got, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 to 350 reps growing strong, 10 brick and mortar locations, a ton of W-2 people. We've got superintendents that are traveling all over the country. I mean, we've got anywhere from 35 to 40 active builds going on at any point in time.
Yeah.
So, for us, it's not a massive inconvenience to go over there and take a look at like, hey, is it going to take, maybe a couple of days, or a week for an initial inspection? Yeah, of course it is, to go out there, evaluate it, see what we're looking at. We want to make sure we get the right person on it. And then as far as the maintenance aspect of it, going out once a year, depending on what area you're in. If you're like a severe weather area, we might go up twice a year, and Denver, Colorado's one. Plus we've got a very strong market here. We've got an office over in Greenwood Village. So, in that situation, yeah, there's no charge. We get you on the Overwatch program. Something like that normally costs anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000, and we wrap it in. It's like, hey, if you let us be your person and when something does go sideways, you let us solve the problem. There is no fee.
Yeah.
Zero fee, right? It doesn't cost you anything, and in my grandmother always says, Grandma Rose, shout out. No, she loves watching these when I do them.
Love it.
Yeah, we love you, Grandma Rose.
We love you.
Yeah, it's but an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, it's not only going to help the client, and as selfish as it is, it helps us, because when we walk into these situations, we don't want to be going to war with the carrier for 2 years. Or 3 years,
That's the first thing, again, when I was in that room, when we were whiteboarding with Rick and John, with National Claims Advisors on how this business model is going to run, how it's going to be set up. Our client is the property owner. Right. So we are in for what's in the best interest of that property owner. And it's not going to litigation for 2 years. That's why we are a pre-litigation law firm, not a litigation law firm. And doing these things, going through an Overwatch program, maintaining your property, documenting damages on your property, having policy reviews every single year. Those things are going to shorten that claims process. I don't blame everything on the carrier like most people. You might hear me say it. It is on record. I don't think the insurance carriers are a bunch of assholes, greedy pigs that are out to get everybody. They have a business and they're operating their business in the best fashion that they can.
Right.
To make what? Profit. It's not a dirty word.
Everything's for profit.
It's not even 4 letters. It's not a dirty word, man.
Yep.
So, I don't get mad at the insurance carriers for doing it. Now, that's why I, again, go over and above to protect your asset. It is your asset. It is your duty.
There you go. Got me, dude. So let's, now you've been doing this since before the Land Before Time. So obviously you've seen it. What is it? What does farmers say? We know things because we've seen things.
We know that. Yep. I know things because I've seen things. Exactly.
What would you say is, the fastest you've seen something get resolved, and then why? And then what would you say is one of the more long-term deals, and then why?
Yeah. So, I'll be honest, at National Claims Advisors, we haven't had the opportunity to, and I say opportunity is not a good word for that, but we haven't had one of our MSA clients, one of our pre-loss clients, somebody that we're monitoring their properties. We haven't had one of those have a claim yet. So I do believe that's going to shatter any of the quick claim results.
Right.
So what I mean by that, if you're not understanding, is when there's a claim filed, we're brought in at different times. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes we're brought in after the carrier said no. Sometimes we're brought in after the first adjustment, for the first adjustment, engineer, just different points. But there was one claim here in Colorado that we were brought in and we filed the claim. So, the client called us. They're like, hey, we have damage. A roofer came and told us we had damage to our roof. We don't know what to do.
We use attorneys for this kind of stuff. Our attorney said we need to hire a specialist. We were referred to you.
Good advice. Good advice. A lot of times, regular attorneys like, I've got this.
I've got this.
Like, night out.
We call those strip mall attorneys.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
I like
strip
it.
mall attorneys. They handle everything.
Yep.
So we get referred. So we go over there, and the first thing, we have a very arduous intake process. We really do. We put a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort and energy into these claims. So we need to make sure it's a good claim. The last thing we're going to do is represent a claim if it's not a good claim. I'm not here for shit. We're not trying to turn shit into gold.
Right.
You know? It's just not what we do. So it's a good claim. It's good damage, good everything else. We meet the adjuster, and this one actually, the adjuster recommended that the roof got paid for, but it was still over his qualification because he was an independent adjuster.
Yeah.
And so they had to send out an engineer. So we met the engineer, and the engineer agreed with the adjuster and said that it was damaged from hail and needed to be replaced. And it got an initial payout within 8 weeks. All that within 8 weeks. You know, what we find is we're sophisticated. Yeah, not me. But we as our entity.
The people that back us are sophisticated. Let's not get it twisted. Right? We're from the trades.
Same thing with you, right?
Yeah.
So and part of our solution is bringing sophistication in an unsophisticated world.
Right.
Be that contractors, be that public adjusters, be that independent adjusters. Most of them are unsophisticated. So I was blessed to see it from the dark ages.
Yeah.
You know, we always say adjusters are lazy roofers, right? And that probably checks out for most adjusters you've talked to. They used to be a contractor, used to be a roofer, but they're tired of knocking doors. So they become adjusters.
We always said that the adjusters are the people that couldn't cut it as roofers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not validating that. I'm just saying that's what's been heard.
Not taking shots, right? Hey, but for that reason, they're probably a little unsophisticated themselves, right? They're flying off the seat of their pants, doing this, doing that,
Right. Well, we're all just winging it to some extent. To some extent.
You said it. I did. So anyway, having us being involved with the process, we get a level of respect from the carrier that's unmatched. That's been like the coolest thing about being in this position. 10, 15 years ago, I could go out on a commercial property and meet a commercial adjuster, not just Joe Blow,
right.
An actual general adjuster, somebody that's qualified to pay for that roof. And he's going to actually listen to what I say, trust what I say as a damage expert, and hey, this is damage, this is why, and he's going to pay for that roof.
Right.
That's what it was 15 years ago. And the industry has changed because there's so many bad players on all sides because there's so much unsophistication. I use a term called fuckery. Right? I don't know if I can say that, right?
Yeah, no, you can say it.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
So bringing in a sophisticated professional in that, you know, service, we get that respect and we get the better adjusters, we get the better treatment, we get everything else. And, and I do believe that's a big part of that claims process. You know, attorneys have ethics. They have things that they have to follow. And I think the carriers trust that. I know I would trust that. You know, if I'm on the other end, if I'm an adjuster, again, I operate a lot of, I try to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Right. If I'm an adjuster and I'm going out on an adjustment, am I going to take the damage more seriously if it's Chuck in a truck sitting across from me, if it's a public adjuster sitting across from me, or if it's an attorney? You know, who's more professional, who's more trustworthy, who actually has an ethics that they have to follow? So yeah, I find that. And so when you talk about quick claims process, that's probably the fastest that it's happened. Mm-hmm. Is that 8 weeks, that one in Colorado?
I mean, that's scooting.
Pretty quick.
That's moving.
It's not our average, right? I tell people all the time. So some of our clients have, $30 million, $60 million losses. When it gets to that level, I look at what the market's doing.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, put yourself in the executive, that C-suite position of that insurance company.
Right.
Right. Where's your money best suited? Is it paying out claims or is it holding claims until you get sued? Right. So, and again,
especially depending on what state you're in too.
Nefarious. Yeah. Depending on what state you're in.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more nefarious in saying they're purposely denying claims. But if it's a $30 million, $60 million claim and I got a chance not to pay it at court, I'd probably risk that chance. That's myself.
Well, plus also remember, a loss that big, you're going to want to cross your T's and dot your I's. So find the carrier. That 350-page policy is actually a 2,000 page Lloyd's of London. We've got 90 different people insuring it. We've insured this toilet. This guy over here.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right.
Yeah, so it becomes more complex. It adds complexity to it. So, it's one of those things. I try not to ever give any expectations on speed.
Right.
I can tell you, well, I guess I can't, but I would assume that we're going to get it done faster than anybody else. And it's one simple thing. John actually said this, and he said it on my podcast a while back, and I love it. It makes most sense. What do insurance companies do? Their base. What do insurance companies do?
They manage risk.
Manage risk, right?
Yeah.
They assess risk and they put a value on it. They put a risk value on it.
Ruben Pfeffer.
So what is riskier? A contractor, a public adjuster, or a lawyer? So when they manage risk, when they see us on that file, they understand that it is riskier if there is anything nefarious just to try to deny it than it would be with anybody else. So they're going to cross their T's, they're going to dot their I's, they're going to do things the right way.
Right.
And again, it hasn't happened on every claim because we have that one that I told you about that, what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you not know who we are? Mm-hmm. We are taking notes and we're monitoring what you're doing. But most of the time, man, it's showing that it goes that way, that they're respecting us, that they're watching out for their property, that they're actually taking care of the client.
Well, and a big thing too that I really like I want to put some emphasis on here is that, anytime I've met with you, whether it's at Topgolf or out to dinner or whatever it is, you're dressed well, you take care of yourself, your hair is cut, you've got the whitest teeth on anybody I've ever seen on this planet.
Just trying to be like you. Look at this guy. What are you talking about?
Come on now.
Dressed nice.
Yeah, no big, State Liberty, shout out Tony. What's up, buddy? But dressing
Grandma
the part,
Rose, you taught him how to dress very well.
She did. Grandma Rose got style.
You got style.
Gosh darn it, she does. Yeah. But in all seriousness, though, dressing the part, showing up. Yeah. Being articulate. I know we're joshing and we're gonna, say some cross words and stuff, and I get it. We're gonna say duty.
We're still
gonna have it.
Still contractors.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you show up, you dress the part, you talk the right way, you have good intentions. And there's an acronym I like. It's called DWISIWID. Do what you say you will do. Right. If I'm gonna be there at 10 or 11 or 12, I'm gonna be there at 10, 11 or 12. If I'm gonna call you on a reminder for the state, it's these little tiny things that you do to help build up that trust. And then furthermore, I can't tell you how many times I've been on a job and they've brought experts in. I remember there's a bakery that I'm dealing with out in Nebraska, and it's 2 buildings. It's about 1,500 squares, give or take, 7 different roof facets with 3 different roofing types. Okay.
Complex.
Yeah. Well, so here's an interesting, I'm going to nerd out a little bit here.
Okay.
So we get over there. I knock the door. The guy answers it. He's dressed in scrubs and a poofy hat and all this stuff. Gives me authorization to inspect the roof. I go up there. It's got a 26 gauge R panel roofing system on there. Over their main bakery. So we get up there and there's holes punctured in the R panel. Right.
Oh man.
So I'm like, this thing's toast, right? And or as I like to say, smoked. Right. Things smoked. So we get in there and I'm like, all right, cool. So I scheduled the meeting. I go back the next day with my guy, Deals on Wheels, Jack Deal, and we roll in there. And the guy's wearing a suit and he's like, I'm the superintendent. I make the decisions. Well, we went in there, we treat him with respect like any other guy. Normally people just blown over him. So we go and we sit down. Get the service agreement signed. He already had a claim filed. Yeah. We start meeting with the adjusters and some of these specials that carry. So they had vinyl back draped insulation with a PBR system. Okay. Yep. And the big thing is listening to the client. Number one is that they're saying like, hey, look, we're the insulation's falling inside the building, right? And they're like. They've got food now. It's not falling like that big dramatic. It's not falling, but it's like, look, you can see it.
Yeah, it's dangling.
Yeah, this could be an issue in the future. And they're fixing it up. It's safe, But we look at that. And then say, okay, the carrier starts bringing out other roofing contractors and scheduling engineer appointments without telling us. Oh. So the carrier, I'm not gonna say the guy's name, but God bless him, he's a great dude, and he keeps setting us up. He's like, hey, FYI, there's a adjuster appointment tomorrow, another one. They're sending out an engineer. Now this is in Nebraska. Yeah. It's an 8-hour drive. So me and the lads, I got 4 guys I work with. I was like, all right, saddle up, boys. Let's go. We jump at the 2,500. Yeah. Shoot out there. It's an all night. We're just ripping rock stars and Red Bulls.
Anything you can do.
Yeah. And we get there and the guy shows up and we're like, hey, how's it going, man? Eyes are bloodshot. He's like, you guys slept? We're like, sure. Yeah, I slept in the car. We're good. Yeah. But These guys are showing up. They're wearing shorts. One of them was wearing sandals. Okay, which it's a facility where you have to have PPE. You have to have closed-toe shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are engineers. And I'm like, man, I don't know where these guys are coming from. And then furthermore, we start getting in. They had another roofing company come in. The carrier sent out, a person just to cross-check us, make sure we're doing the right things, I'm sure. And these guys come in and they're like, hey, we're just going to do a layover and we're going to do all this stuff. And I was like, well, we talked to the CEO when we did our board meeting. And the guy said that, it's going to, because he asked us, that we proposed that and said, look, we could do a roof recover. We could do a retrofit, because it's an R panel, we'll put TP over the top, no big deal. We'll have to replace the panels that are rusted out, but other than that, we can do it. And then, but what that's going to leave you is that your insulation on the inside, like what you're talking
that's
about.
A problem. It's
that's a problem, right?
Yep.
So also, if let's say that we somehow replace it or we seal it in, now you're sealing in moisture in a closed dark room.
Big issues.
That's a big issue. And then furthermore, when you have to remove the roofing system, according to 2018 IBC, you have to go back down to the deck. So you'd have to tear both the layers back off.
Yeah.
Right. So we're proposing all this. Well, when the other contractor came in, he didn't take the time to get to know the board, didn't take the time to learn all these things. So he's like, well, we're just gonna put a
layover.
Yeah, he's like, we're gonna do a turtle shell. I said, what the heck is a turtle shell? He's like, well, we're just going to put metal roof over metal roof. I said, okay, well, one of their concerns was the cost of removal down the line because now you're taking 2 layers. He's like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? He goes, you don't have to do that. I said, yeah, you do. He goes, no, you don't. I said, how do you know? He's like, because I've been doing this for 35 years. I said, that's great. I called the building inspector 2 weeks ago and asked him. And he said no. So, plus we had to scarify, I think it was like 200 squares of polystyrene. So we got to go through, we've got to scarify this out. Well, according to IBC, is that if you do more than one square, it's considered an additional membrane. There's already 2 membranes.
Yeah.
It's a tertiary membrane. And the guy's proposing the scarification. I'm like, dude, did you look at this at all? Right.
Yeah.
And so we blew that guy out of the water. We've actually got a really good company, Ram Restoration. They did a ton of builds, interior and remediation for me down in Florida. So we brought them in and they're basically figuring out a way because they're like, we're not going to close.
Yeah.
We're staying open. And I'm like, you have open food. They're like, we're fine with that. I'm like, they're just like, figure it out.
Yep.
So, okay. So, and now we've done this with no PA, no attorney, no nothing.
Good for you.
We're dealing directly with the broker and directly with we're dealing with the, not going to say what carrier it is, but, I don't know, let's just use like a random one, like Nationwide, right? So we're dealing with the director of ag, and this guy is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the dude was sharp. And that's the thing. I would rather deal with somebody that's sharp. The guy's very sharp. He knows his stuff. He's cross-checking. He's doing, he's really making it. So like, we've got to be, if it was anybody else, I'm sure there's other people out there be like because the 2 guys that I brought with me, which one of them is now our CEO and the other guy is just like, he's like a Rain Man, where he's like,
just knows everything.
Yeah, he's just like, there's 755 nails in this room. Like the guy, not super personal, but knows his stuff, right?
Yep.
And I brought these guys in. So together we're able to go. So now we're basically building out this thing to secure the interior envelope of the system. It's probably going to be a couple million. But they're building up not only the visqueen to stop the dust, but also have the particulate monitoring to make sure that they can continue to work on the food. And then above that, an additional steel mesh wire net. So if anything falls through, it gets caught. That's welded, tack welded to the beams. You want to talk about creative solutions.
Yeah, that's a creative solution.
I may say the word duty, but I can fix shit. Okay. so we build all this stuff up, but it goes back to what you're saying, where I know I just went on a tirade.
No,
which
I love it.
I've known to do, right? But it's showing up, it's dressing the part, it's acting the right way, it's treating people with respect, it's knowing your craft.
It all goes full circle, man.
It goes full circle, right? And the big thing that I see is that, everybody does this, is that, when these crazy, like last year was bananas with hail,
crazy,
right? And then we had Hurricane Ian right before that. Thank God we didn't get a hurricane last year. Like, I don't know if anybody was ready for that.
No,
dude. We're still rebuilding.
No.
We're still on Sanibel Island fixing stuff up.
Yeah.
So all this stuff, which we actually rented Matt, the owner, rented a barge and loaded it with materials because we
get it out
to get it out there with the truck.
Yep.
Took one of our didn't tell him. He was like, I need to borrow your truck. Puts it on the barge, sends it to Sandoval.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I mean, just tell you, it's coming up with the creative solutions. But, you know, we bring people in, you know, fresh. The hailstorms are really great. It's good money. We can have the opportunity to help a lot of people, both our sales representatives who are going to make some money when they sell and stuff. Yeah. And then also you're looking at the property owner. It's somebody that go out there and let you know because, you know, there's a statute of limitations in every single year. And magically, what I found out from a couple of different people is like, you know, hey, this is old damage. We're not insuring it anymore. By the way, we're not insuring your property. Yeah. So it's like, sorry, not sorry, right? And to the carrier's point, it is your duty to evaluate the property and let them know. Same thing with the mortgage company too. Like it's not your property generally.
Yeah.
If you got a note on the property.
Let's be honest, they own more of it than you do.
Exactly.
You know?
So you have to report it to them. Now, are people doing that because they're trying to be jerks? No. But, you know, when we go through, we send somebody out there and they're taking a look at it. They're in a unique position to be able to help themselves, help the families, you know, help the client. So it's getting these people trained up. Yeah. It's how do you get these people trained up to where they're not just a bunch of, you know, dingbats
chucking the
trucks, man, you know, and they'll show up and they'll look good, but it's like, that's where the knowledge backing comes in.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been dedicating a lot of my time to building out these training modules and getting these dudes up to speed. And I mean, there's, you know, Jocko Willink says it the best. There's not really anything better that you could do than OJT. It's on the job training.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, you know, the main thing is getting our partners that are running these offices, you know, the guys that have worked their way and they're taking these, you know, these young bucks.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, you know, Joe set that
jump
ladder
in the car.
up.
Let's go.
Yeah. Jump in it. You know, I remember when I was running offices, the people would be like, well, you know, we don't have time to do this, or I can't train while I'm doing that. I'm like, what are you talking about? When you're taking a new person
take them with you.
Take them with you. That person is, I don't want to use this lightly, but I'm like, sounded like your secretary, dude. You know, it's like, all right, Joe, you know, grab that ladder, put it in the back of the truck. Okay, cool. Take it out, set, you don't know, here, I'll show you once. Set that thing up. Here's my phone. Here's company cam. You know, here's Hail Trace. Here's all the apps we use. You know, here's JP. Take all these photos. So by the time we get to the end of it, you know, in a week, you know your stuff. You know your stuff.
It's like there's a lot of roofing companies out there, and I'm not picking on any one of you, but there's a lot of them. They have these awesome, badass showrooms that they built for training. It's like if you have to build a roof and you've got the time to build a roof in a warehouse for training, you don't do enough work.
Yeah.
You should be busy enough to where you can say, hey, jump in my truck and come do it. And, you know, again, how you do things, it's funny. It's awesome. I really love it. Like you said it from the start, I picked it up on it earlier, that you learned how to do this for the first 2 weeks. Because you didn't need to know all of this, right? I learned how to do this, and then I learned how to do this, and then I learned how to do this. You stage it out, and you learn it on the job. OJT, baby. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's a cool thing, too, is like, you know, you go out, you can identify damage, you can help the client, all that other stuff, but we have a lot of home markets where we're running offices, and people are running around and doing stuff. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, you know, if these guys are here and they're doing this, and I know for sure I have two builds going on right now. So yeah, we've got a guy, you know, I'm not gonna say his name, but he's an up and coming star, really good dude. We're gonna start going through and helping him build out a little bit. And you know, the first thing I'm gonna do is say, okay, cool. After the first week, okay, grab those 3 people. We're going to this build. Okay, here's why we're doing this. Here's the site. Site safety is a big thing for me. You know, anytime that I'm getting up on a roof, you know, is it an active job site? Are you tying off? Do you have your harness? Where's your hard hat? If you don't have it, get in the truck. Get in the truck.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. You know, so it's getting the people geared up, you know, and that's a luxury. When I started, I did not have. I did not. I mean, dude, I'm not kidding. I didn't know anything about roofing for like the first year and a half. I mean, I knew it's like that's TPO, that's PVC. You know, usually I couldn't tell the difference. I'm like, it's chalky. It should be PVC, right? You know, I know what EPDM is. I did tires for so long, manufactured by Firestone. Get that. You know, but like it wasn't until about a year and a half in where I really started getting settled and I started going on. This is amazing what you can learn on YouTube. Really, it is amazing what you can learn on YouTube. I mean, Firestone has, I think it's like an hour and a half to 2 hour long class just on EPDM. Right? And then you go to Versico or GAF's websites, and they have online training for free that you can do. And then the CRA, actually, like you're talking about, which is the Colorado Roofing Association, so the business is school.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
you're excluded. You guys are great. I love you. But they have a warehouse in the back where you could go in and actually put shingles on. You can actually put a standing seam roof on. You're crimping it.
There you
I
go.
mean, dude, I can't tell me how many times I almost cut my fingers off using those crimpers.
Yeah, I don't like standing seam.
But it's investing that time and that money into, for me personally, I forget how much the class was, but I mean, it was worth it. Every single, I made every guy on my team, everyone, like if you're on this team, it is mandatory. You are going to this training. And what ended up happening is that, like, did our sales go up? Not necessarily, but did the quality of what we were doing going up? Would our customer, or did our reviews get way better? Were we making less false promises? Oh yeah, that's a big thing, because I can't say there's a guy that I know, and he sells, I mean, a lot. The guy sells a lot, but I get in there and they're like, yeah, so so-and-so said that you guys were going to upgrade all of the electrical in these 2 units
Giveaway artists.
for free. And I'm like,
yeah.
Like, what else did he say? He's like, well, actually, and he pulls out a list. I'm like, this is not a good situation. You know what I mean? Because, like, look, as far as I'm concerned, you got to do some favors from time to time. Yeah, right? There's certain lines that you don't cross 100%. You and I both know what I'm talking about. But, like, there are certain times where you need to make concessions. But as far as I'm concerned, making a good deal is what's good for both people.
Yeah.
Making a good deal, understanding what the capabilities of my company are, understanding what the capabilities of your company are, understanding what the customer needs versus wants. What can we do? Where can we make it happen? And like in a situation like that, like, we were able to do it. It was tight. It was tight. I'll tell you, the biggest complication was getting an electrician out there that would do it, because they're also backed up.
Yeah.
The guy's like, they're not going to pass inspection and the permits could expire.
Oh, yeah.
And we've extended it so many times. I'm like, it's never easy. But yeah, man, I mean, it comes full circle all the way, 100%. So, if we could leave with some parting stuff, right? I love, oh, by the way, too, one more thing. I got to say, I'm super impressed. I forgot that, Jason Quimby is working with my dad on his property.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, in Chicago. I totally forgot about that. And, I actually got a text. I don't have my phone on me. I got a text from my dad the other day. And he says, son, I got to tell you, these guys that I'm working with, I did not think there was a snowball's chance in hell anything was going to happen, because the property is old. I mean, it's a Section 8 property in Southside Chicago, off of Martin Luther King Boulevard, right? And it is right by Washington Park. And the thing is, it's got a non-granulated mod bit roofing system. It's a 4-story building, and it's the old one that has the tiles on the parapet that are like, I mean, if this thing falls off a building, you're dead. Like, game over. Right. And so he goes over, he had Ryan Steffens do the engineer appointment.
Okay,
Ryan Steffens
yep.
a G. Yeah, that guy's real smart. And actually have a call with him tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah,
Love
super
Ryan
guy. But the wind that came through the hail was so bad that it ripped those tiles off and flipped them across the roof. So the carrier's putting up a fuss, all this stuff, and Jason Quimby and the team over there are just hammering him. Hammering him. And my dad calls me, he's like, I didn't think there was a snowball's chance in hell, but he's like, I just got the update recently, because, that's his deal. I let him take the calls.
There you go.
And he's like, man, I'll tell you, if we do this, his big thing, he's like, we're going to Mexico. He's like, are we going to Mexico, Dad? He's like, we're going to Mexico. Like, okay, well. So, but yeah, man, I mean, you guys do a bang up job every time that I've ever spoken with any of our inside people that, like I know you've worked with some of our inside people and had them do adjuster appointments and engineer appointments, because we've got some really smart cats on our side. My dad, a lot of the other people that we've been working with. I mean, it's been an unbelievable experience, and we both know experiences matter, right?
Yeah,
so
sure does.
But outside of that, man, is there anything else you want to close up with?
No, man. It's just that. It's like, again, everything that we do it for the property owner, right? It's the portfolio.
Let's first.
We were lucky enough, and we were blessed to build a business. Most people, when they build these businesses, right? Most lawyers, public adjusters, contractors, no matter who they are within the space, they build it out to suit themselves, right? They put themselves first.
Yeah.
And they're financially incentivized, which incentives really matter. Mm-hmm. And they're financially incentivized to do things that best benefit them. Right. We created a business with SOPs and people involved that best suits that property owner.
Beautiful.
And we just follow that. And again, like, you said it earlier. I need to know that acronym. But
Do as you would. Do what you say you will do.
do what you say you're going to do. Like life, business, it's all real simple. To me, it's two things, right? Answer your fucking phone.
Yes.
And do what you say you're going to do.
That's 90% of it. Is getting anybody on the phone,
That's
man.
it. You know, I'm a property owner, commercial property owner, business owner. Like I have to deal with people all the time, and it's fucking impossible to get somebody to answer the phone and do what you say you're going to do. It's that simple. If you do that, you will be successful in business, and you will be successful for businesses. So if you're a property owner out there and you're looking for a contract, you're looking for anything else, find somebody who answers the phone and does what they say they're going to do. It's that simple.
True that. Yeah. Well, cool. Mr. Allen Mick, it was a pleasure having you on here.
Yeah,
Thanks
absolutely,
for tuning in
man.
with the Overwatch channel. We'll
Love
catch
it.
you next time.